Hi, how are you? Today is the World Diabetes Day, 14th of November. Every year, I do some videos regarding the dietary interventions, exercise interventions. Now, I'm going to quickly summarize and add in few more inputs and things that there is no point doing in the name of managing diabetes. So that would be number one. Now, rice is not the single most reason for diabetes. If that is the case, the entire north of India should not be diabetic because their staple food is wheat or chapati, right? So stopping rice and moving to chapati is not the answer of managing diabetes. It's lot more than that. Number two, agree brown rice is better than white rice because it has slightly higher amount of protein and fiber. But having brown rice with sambar and curd, as against having white rice with a lot of green leafy vegetables such as spinach and reasonable good quantity of protein such as lentils or egg white or lean fish, the second option is actually a lot more healthier than the first one. So managing or reversing diabetes also needs to be looked at from a sensible perspective. Yeah. Coming to exercises, walking is not an exercise. Now, don't get me wrong, walking is definitely helpful, better than being a couch potato, but it is an activity, it is not an exercise. And remember, diabetes at the end of the day is a metabolic syndrome. Body is not able to absorb glucose from the blood and utilize it properly. Some sort of a metabolic pathway or process is broken, and for you to improve that or reverse that or kind of manage that, you need to improve your metabolic parameters. And the single most factor which helps in improving the metabolic parameters too is improve the lean muscle mass. That improves the metabolic rate or the basal metabolic rate tremendously. So how do you improve lean muscle mass? Walking is not going to contribute much towards doing that. Exercises, primarily weight training and cardio, a good combination of that, especially weight training, will improve the insulin sensitivity dramatically. So don't shy away from lifting weights. And women, you do not have to think twice or really think that lifting weights would make you look bulkier or look like a man. I keep saying that all our elderly, I remember my grandparents used to lift weights, or rather as part of actual routine household work, such as taking water from a well, or grinding a coconut using that stone. All these things were in fact weight training exercises which involved the muscles. Remember, the glucose which comes into our body gets stored primarily in liver. That comes to roughly around 100 grams of glycogen, which is glucose. And then around 300 to 500 grams of glycogen or glucose is actually stored in our muscles. So improving our muscles' ability to absorb glucose, store glucose, and utilize it properly by being physically active is the way towards reversing diabetes. Now, would you reverse it 100%? Well, that depends. That depends upon your age, that depends upon the gender, that depends upon metabolic parameters, hereditary aspect, many things. Remember, if a person is just turned diabetic or just in the pre-diabetic stage, there's a higher chance that he or she can reverse it. If a person has been diabetic for around 20 years, it's a lot more difficult to reverse it entirely and completely stay off medications. Now, that being said, it is possible to reduce the medicines in a structured scientific manner if you look at lifestyle interventions in a same structured scientific sensible way of looking at it. I just want to end it by saying that diabetes, in my opinion, diabetes in itself is not the problem. But the problem is that it is a slow poison. If my blood sugar levels are high, I might not necessarily find it an issue. Apart from the usual fatigue and other things like that, I don't have a scorching pain. If I had a scorching pain about something, I would go and do something about it, right? And that's why it is a silent killer. Because gradually it starts impacting organs. And once it impacts organs, especially kidney, that's called diabetic nephropathy. Nerves, it's diabetic neuropathy. Eyes, that is diabetic retinopathy. When it starts impacting these organs, that damage cannot be reversed, cannot be repaired. We can only make sure that it doesn't progress further or it doesn't become worse further. And when diabetes has, say, impacted kidneys, we have a much bigger problem to manage, because if the kidney gets damaged, the blood pressure goes for a toss, the heart health goes for a toss. So diabetes is actually a scientific as a silent killer, and managing diabetes or reversing diabetes is actually easier. Only thing is that it needs to be, remember, sensible, structured, scientific. That has to be from both dietary intervention and exercise intervention. And as I always keep saying, all good things in life takes time, and managing or reversing diabetes is not any different. So on this World Diabetes Day, I hope you, your friends, your near and dear ones, your family, everyone stays healthy, stays happy, stays fit, and stays young. Take care and stay safe.